Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build MLB edition. I'm Kevin Roberts, joined with Taylor Smith. Going to go over this main slate for MLB DFS at DraftKings on Friday. The goal is to help you win. If we do help you in any way, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Doing so gets you alerted to future videos just like this. We cover more than MLB, but today's video is about MLB and hopefully helping you win there. Also, if you want extra advice, namely today's picks and stacks that Taylor likes the most, you can get access to that for $5.99 a month and access to our Discord. Access for that fee gets you everything that we do as well. All right, let's get into it here. The way we do this, we go game by game, looking at the pitchers and the offenses and kind of just deciding where we want to land in terms of where the ownership is at and how everything is projecting. So right up, we have tough one to kind of peg here because it is a volatile setting in Yankee Stadium, two capable offenses, but also Will Warren looks pretty darn good at his price against the Red Sox. They do strike out a little bit. I think it's a both sides situation, but the way the slate is working out, I certainly understand why Warren is kind of popping. On the other side, a shell of his former self, Walker Buehler, a little bit better than he was last year, though, and he's taking on the Yankees, which seems really bad. I mean, I like both offenses here a little bit, but obviously Will Warren is popping, and I'm totally fine with playing Warren at, like 16% ownership. I'm no problem with that.
Yeah, I think Warren is the best thing in this game. Just 8K, good strikeout pitcher, good strikeout matchup. Boston has three good lefties at the top, and then it's kind of nonsense after that. So, yeah, there's a risk. It's a park that will allow power, especially to lefties, to right field and all that. So, not a perfect spot, but the slate is kind of lacking on quality pitching options. So, taking a shot on a guy with like a 30% K rate on the season is something I'm happy to do at 8K. Yankees look fine. Not an ideal spot necessarily. I think they'll be kind of owned against Buehler. He's not great, but he's also not like a total gas can these days. Like you said, he was last season. So it's fine. I'm kind of inclined to let other people chase the Yankees, and then I'm not really getting to Boston at all, or Buehler himself, of course.
Yeah, certainly not playing Walker. 231 ISO to righties. That is, Aaron Judge season. I'm okay with an Aaron Judge one-off. You can always stack the Yankees. I just don't feel like they're a priority. I do think you can play Boston a little bit, especially if the Will Warren ownership gets out of control at 16% with who's taking like most of the ownership here at like 40, yeah, Scooball 44%, which is a little surprising given the price and matchup. But 16% is not egregious. So, like, we don't have to go out of our way on a big slate like this to, seek out that kind of leverage. So I'm with you. I'm more Warren here. Not very into the Yankees. I'm not playing Buehler, but I do want a little bit of Boston for leverage if it presents itself. Moving on here, the Cubs are visiting the Tigers in Detroit. This is a hitter's park. Ben Brown does look good because he's only 7K and has a 27% whiff rate. So in terms of value and upside, I do see the appeal of Ben Brown. And then Tyreek Scooball on the other side. I mean, the Cubs don't strike out. They got a lot of power. It's a hitter's park. It's like the worst possible spot to feel good about paying 11.5K for Scooball, and he's 44% owned. So I don't think you need to go fire up Cubs stacks because it's not really a good spot for them. But I think going underweight on Scooball makes a lot of sense, especially since you got the Mets and Coors. You have other stacks that we want to go get. I don't know. Like, I feel bad fading Scooball because, like, he's not that far removed from a game where he had 53 fantasy points, which is absurd. It just doesn't feel like the spot to pay for him, though.
Yeah, the issue is I don't really know what else you do with a lot of confidence on the pitching side.
True. Yeah.
So I don't love the spot either. Like you said, the Cubs are low strikeout. They have a lot of power. The two lefties in the projected lineup, Tucker and PCA, both have power against lefties. So I don't think Scooball's going to get like shelled. The Cubs have a sub-3 total, which is pretty remarkable given their own talent. It's just a testament to Scooball's talent. So the issue is for 11.5, you kind of need him to put up a huge score. And I don't think that's the most likely scenario. I think the most likely scenario is a fine 20-ish point score, which may or may not still be the best on the slate. But, if you get a couple of cheaper guys who put up 15 or 16 and your bigger bats help you out by default, Skubal kind of looks worse, but still getting a lot of them regardless. I think pairing him with Ben Brown on the other side of the game is going to be probably the chalky build. Brown at just 7K, pretty good strikeout pitcher, controls improved this season. The Tigers do have a lot of power to throw at him, so it's not a perfect spot for him either, but given the discount, given the strikeout stuff, I think it's fine. I think pairing Brown and Warren together is something that's pretty interesting. Like if you want to play the Mets or another expensive stack like that, it is a pretty pitcher-friendly park. Like this is one of the biggest outfields in the league. So I'm okay with the pitchers. I'm not getting to the bats at all. I could see why you might play the Cubs against Skubal, but they're expensive. He's going to be owned, but the Cubs, I don't know. Are they really going to demolish him and put up a slate-winning score at huge salaries? Seems doubtful. So pitching, no hitting, it's kind of it.
Yeah, I'm very okay with going under on Skubal, but I'm not like chasing him with the Cubs by any means. But that said, like it could very well be a situation where yes, you're investing a lot of salary, but given the slate, 25 fantasy points could be more than enough. So you'll have to make that decision. I'm okay with it. And plus he has the massive ceiling if everything works out. Houston in Cleveland, the Guardians are taking on Colton Gordon. And on the other side, we have Logan Allen taking on the Astros. I'm kind of indifferent on this game. I'm not seeing anything that I'm super drawn to. How about you?
I don't mind a mini of the Houston side just because it's a lot of righties against a lefty. Pretty good lineup as well from the right side. So I guess that would be it, kind of, and like Ramirez by himself. But yeah, the game's kind of a scratch off overall.
It's a bit of a snoozer. Like I think both the offenses are certainly capable here, and this is a park jump for Houston, but like that's about it. Eduardo Rodriguez and the Diamondbacks are taking on the Reds in Cincinnati. I think this game has weather concerns. It is in orange, so definitely keep an eye on that. I wasn't really that interested in the pitching anyways. I know Lodolo and Erod, they both do have upside with their strikeouts, but I'm not going to play Lodolo against Arizona. I'd be much more inclined to fire up D-back stacks if this game is safe. On the other side, I kind of be more inclined to fire up some Reds too. They don't really profile very well here. But I'm just not into the pitching with the weather concerns and kind of just getting away from this game in general because of that.
Yeah, I think Arizona side looks pretty good. It's a park boost for them, the second best hitters park on the slate behind Coors. So Arizona might go overlooked as a result. The righties against Lodolo are going to look decent. It's not a great matchup. He's a pretty good pitcher overall, but strikeouts are down, kind of just a ground ball guy throwing strikes. So Gurriel, Grichuk, Moreno, Marte from the right side. I don't mind Carroll, lefty. Mm-hmm. The bottom of the order is pretty bad, but if you need the savings and all that for a wraparound, I think it's okay. I do like them for the ownership I think they're going to get, but that's really it for this game.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm doing anything here, it is Arizona, but I just don't personally think I'm even going to do that. Seth Lugo takes on the White Sox. As we've talked about recently, White Sox still not good, but they don't strike out as much as they used to. They're a little bit better as well. Davis Martin on the other side taking on the Royals. I mean, I like the Royals here for sure. Seth Lugo is pretty expensive, 8.8K, and this is where are they playing? Yeah, it's in Chicago, so it's a hitter's park too. So, you certainly could entertain the White Sox a little bit, especially if Lugo's going to carry ownership. Where is he at here? Not that much, 10%. So I definitely lean Lugo over Chicago, and I definitely like the Royals here quite a bit. The price on Lugo, it just feels like every decent, worthwhile pitcher is way overpriced, but it's not egregious. I'd like him to be closer to 8, but 8.8 against the White Sox, I think it's fine. Plus the projected lineup has a 21% whiff rate, which is higher than we've been seeing from them. So that's where I'm at. How you feel about this game?
Pretty much just the bats. I think KC looks great. Michael Witt's expensive. Everyone else is cheap. Really no issue with that. Against Davis Martin and a bad bullpen. The White Sox I kind of like as a mini. Lugo, not great overall this season, especially against lefties. Tauchman, Benintendi, Palacios, Josh Rojas, if you want, all left-handed. I don't mind Mydroth, kind of a low strikeout value option for your stack. Vargas has been pretty good overall, so I kind of like Chicago. I really like the Royals, and the pitching can fuck off.
I don't think I'd be that into Chicago unless Lugo started carrying ownership. If that happened, I'd be with you. But other than that, it's like I'm not like getting like I'm not racing to go play Seth Lugo by any means. I just think if I'm going to play a pitcher here, that's the guy I'm going to go with. And Casey looks really good. San Diego's visiting the Brewers in Milwaukee. Randy Vasquez taking on the Brewers. Definitely don't want to play him. I have a little bit of interest in the Brewers who have a lot of lefties to throw at him, and he has issues against lefties for sure. Chad Patrick taking on the Padres. They don't strike out, so I don't really want to play him either. So definitely no pitching. Padres are okay. You can play the Padres if you want. I think the Brewers are the offense to target here, though.
Yeah, this game's kind of a nothing for me. Like, I feel like Milwaukee is okay against Vasquez just because he's bad. The walks are high. He's really bad against lefties. So, Turang, Yelich, Frelick, that kind of thing. But like beyond Yelich, you're not really excited to play any of those lefties. Like Churio and Contreras from the right side are a lot more appealing. Not as good of a spot for them, but in stacks, it's fine. I kind of just like a Yelich one-off, and the stack might be over-owned. So not super into it. Not in the Padres. Obviously not the pitching either.
Yeah, totally fair. I don't know if the Brewers are going to be that owned, though, especially with the Mets and Coors. You got the Yankees. And if the Arizona game plays, like I think they could go a little bit under the radar. So I would agree that Yelich will be owned, but as a one-off, I think that will be owned. But I think the Brewers as a full stack might be a little bit overlooked. Hopefully, because I'm going to play them. Toronto and Minnesota. In Minnesota, Paxton Schultz taking on the Twins, and Bailey Ober taking on the Jays. I do not want to play Bailey Ober. Man, Toronto's so annoying. I'm not really in on anybody here. I think Minnesota's going to kind of regress slightly in this series after really enjoying themselves against Athletics. So don't really want to target the pitching here, but I think this game is one of those in a big slate where I just don't have a ton of interest.
Yeah, I don't really see anything at all. Like Ober is somewhat cheap, but Toronto's pretty low strikeout, and he's not great to begin with. So not for me.
Yep. All right, moving on here. We have the Dodgers in St. Louis. This is a pitcher park. I'm assuming Justin Robleski is just opening. Am I right? No, he is not. Okay, so he's full starter. Well, I just never know with the Dodgers. Okay, so he's in there against the Cardinals. I guess that would be okay. Don't have a ton of interest there, although he is whipping the heck out of lefties so far, and they are kind of lefty heavy. So I suppose you could look there. Sonny Gray, obviously, really good pitcher, good park, but it's the Dodgers, so not super eager to target Sonny Gray, especially since he's not chalky. But I also don't want to stack the Dodgers, or I don't want to play Sonny necessarily either.
Yeah, 9,700 facing the Dodgers sounds kind of bad.
Yeah.
He's good. Like I would play him against most other teams on this slate, but it happens to be this one. So not super into it. Ohtani as a one-off, always.
Sure.
Full stack, not really for me on this slate either.
I mean, like, yeah, if you want to look at the other side, like, oh, should we play Dodgers? Not really. It is a pitcher park, and he does a really good job against lefties, which is where all their damage comes from. So it's like, just not really.
You want to play an unowned Ohtani, this is the slate to get him unowned.
Sure. Or just in general, unknown Dodgers, I suppose you could argue for as well. I do like that idea. Kodai Senga taking on the Rockies in Coors Field. $9K feels expensive for a Coors pitcher, but honestly, all things considered, kind of a value because the Rockies aren't good. Antonio Senzatella on the other side, he won't walk you, but he won't do anything else good. That is a nice thing for the Mets, who grade out very well here coming into Coors. I guess, fire up the Mets if you want to use the chalky stack. They're going to be expensive. They're going to be owned. I don't have anything bad to say about them. And then the other side, I do like the Rockies a little bit, but Kodai Senga also looks really good on a slate where, like, we don't really feel that great about a lot of the pitching. But if he's going to be owned, and right now he is coming in at what? Almost 20%. I don't mind a couple Rocky stacks.
Yeah, I feel like Senga, I understand why he's owned. Like, it's the Rockies, but a non-ace is going to be chalk in Coors. That just seems not great to me. They also just faced him, I think, last weekend. These teams played in New York. So some familiarity there, like back-to-back starts, I think. So Colorado looks pretty good, which usually isn't the case, but they're more affordable than the Mets. It's Coors. They're not going to be owned. You're going to get leverage with them, I think. So that's pretty appealing. The Mets are fine. Like, no Lindor presumably waters down the lineup a little bit, but it does make them more less expensive overall. So, Senzatella keeps the ball on the ground. That's about all he does. He could get some easy innings here as a result. Like the Soto, Nimmo, Marte trio at the top does hit the ball on the ground quite a bit, as does Francisco Alvarez at the bottom. So not a perfect spot necessarily for the chalkiest stack on the slate. So fading them is fully merited on such a full slate, but obviously it's the top stack on the board.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that I do have a little bit of interest in the Rockies, and I cannot belt out the infamous shaken not stirred because Nick Martini is no longer with this team. That's a bummer. But by the way, if you want more, reason to kind of buy into the Rockies here, Senga with a 15% walk rate against lefties. Yuck. Not good. Also
they
hard.
Only have 2 of them.
2%. Oh, that's true. Yeah, because no more Martini. Oh, maybe they'll figure out a way to get some more in there. They darn well should try. All right, moving on here, we have the Seattle Mariners in LA taking on the Angels, the Halos. Honestly, it's a good hitter's park. They look interesting here. If you go look at Bryce Miller, his numbers against righties this year are not great. A very high walk rate against lefties. They don't have a ton of lefties, though, so I'm really paying attention to the right side with the 182 ISO, only 17% whiff rate. So I don't mind the Halos at all. I think you could certainly make an argument for Bryce Miller just because the Halos have almost a 26% K rate. And I don't think he's that expensive, is he? 8.5. I think that's okay. Like, you could certainly entertain Bryce Miller. On the other side, Kyle Hendricks, he'll eat innings, but that's about it. He's not going to strike anybody out. He gives up a lot of power. So the Mariners certainly look pretty darn good here.
Yeah, they do. He hasn't really been getting shelled. He's been kind of annoyingly surviving, but the strikeouts aren't there. Strikeouts are the main thing you worry about with the Seattle bats, and if they're not striking out, they can do damage, I think. So obviously the lefties, Raleigh, Polanco, Rowdy Tellez look fine. Hendricks over the years has been kind of neutral, so no issue with Rodriguez or Arozarena from the right side. It is a good stack. It is a good park. They have a high total, so I don't think they're going to fly under the radar. Angels are fine, as usual. They have a lot of power. Bryce Miller's not really been right all season. The numbers against righties are particularly bad, and the Angels are entirely right-handed, essentially, except for Shawnuel. So good enough spot. I think you can target them more as a mini stack, and then Seattle would be a full stack I'm fine with.
Yeah, I honestly don't mind going full stack on them just because they're going to be unowned. I just think it's a very slate tilting stack for sure. Another really positive game environment is in Sacramento here with the Athletics hosting the Orioles. Athletics coming off of a big game yesterday, finally popping off after I've been touting them for days and days on end. They face Dean Kramer, who's not really necessarily a gas can, but he certainly can be had. Low strikeout rate, gives up power to the left side more, which they don't really have a ton of lefties. Tyler Soderstrom, though, so there's that. JP Sears on the other side taking on the Orioles. They got a lot of red in their lineup there. Not looking very good. I guess you could make a case for Sears, but given the ballpark and his tendency to give up power to the right side, if we can get righties in there for the Orioles, that would look pretty good too.
Yeah, I think Sears is playable just because, like you said, that lineup is horrible against lefties so far this season.
Yeah.
Some small samples in there, like Mayo with 1 plate appearance, Cowser 4, Jordan Adams none. So, they're probably not as bad as the numbers look. Sears is 6'3", so if you need a punt, I think it's fine. I'm more inclined to just give a shot to the Orioles on this slate, though. Good park for them. They've been kind of better lately with the bats. Most of the better hitters are lefties, which is not ideal against Sears, but they're on the stacking list for me. I think Oakland's okay. Secondary stack, not too exciting overall.
Yeah, I think the big thing with Oakland is that, or Oakland, not Oakland anymore, but the big thing with the A's is that teams don't usually go out and get 14 runs 2 games in a row. It doesn't mean they can't still have success. They're in a good spot. It's just usually they're going to come down quite a bit from a high like that. So if I had to pick one offense to back here, it would be the Orioles. Hopefully they can get some righties in that lineup. Then last game of the night here, we have Atlanta visiting the Bay Area, taking on the Giants. Spencer Schwellenbach, overpriced at $10K, but honestly, it's not that bad of a spot. I think if you can ignore the price, which is something we kind of have to do with a lot of these guys, he's okay. I don't mind him. Hayden Birdsong on the other side is an okay value, but it's not a good spot. He struggles against lefties. The big thing is power. So like in this park, maybe not that big of a deal. I guess you could argue for a Birdsong, but for the most part, this is just a stay away for me unless you want to play Schwellenbach.
Yeah, the Schwellenbach Skubal thing reminds me a little bit of the Sale Pavetta thing we had the other day, where Sale is in the worst spot. He's the better pitcher. He could be more owned, but maybe not. Skubal's in the worst spot. He's the better pitcher. Schwellenbach in a good spot. Worst pitcher, not a guy you're used to paying 10K for. I think, overall, the $1,500 discount is useful, so I have no issue playing Schwellenbach in non-Skubal lineups. Pairing them both is pretty unappealing, given the nature of the bats on this slate. And then that's really it. Like, I'm not going out of my way to play Birdsong at 8-6, and I think the bats, just in the game environment, it's not great for them.
Yeah, fully agree. All right, that does it for the game-by-game breakdown. If you had to tell everybody to play one pitcher and stack one offense, who would that be?
I'm kind of thinking Seattle now. Like, the park boost for them is good. They've been better this season offensively. Hendricks plus the Angels bullpen is just not an imposing matchup. So Field's going to be stacking the Mets. I think the Mariners are pretty good not contrarian. I think they'll be kind of owned, but lower owned than the Mets. So Seattle, Arizona, and KC would be kind of the standouts for me. And then I think Houston's kind of sneaky.
Yeah, I like that. I think it depends what you want to do at pitcher. Obviously, if you want to get Skubal or something, some of these other offenses that are flying a little bit under the radar might make more sense than, say, the Yankees or the Mets. Three offenses that I really like, we kind of went over them a little bit: Brewers, Angels, and Orioles. I feel pretty good that one of those offenses is going to, go towards slate breaking upside. But, it all depends. Like, if they go off and the Mets also go off, like, the chalk is going to possibly overcome that. We'll see how it all shakes out. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and consider heading over to our Patreon linked just below this video. Just $5.99 a month for everything that we offer. All right, thanks for watching, and good luck.